The courts ruled that SEC did not give any valid reasons why Grayscale couldn't convert. And yesterday was the last day for SEC to appeal. And during midday, it was reported that they do not plan on it. And I believe midnight was the deadline. And I have not found anything else that said that they have changed their mind and appealed at the last second. So apparently, they did not appeal. So apparently, they agree that, yeah, Grayscale didn't really have, or they didn't have any good excuses to give Grayscale. So here's the thing. From my understanding, right, because of this, because they didn't appeal, Grayscale basically can ask for, their trust to be converted. And it doesn't mean that it has to be like an automatic approval, but it does mean that the SEC has to come up with new reasons to deny their conversion. And they can't use the same reasons before. So basically, they can't say what they said before. If they do, it wouldn't be valid. Grayscale could take them to court again. And I don't think SEC wants that. And they've been taking too many losses. So obviously they don't want that, right? So basically everyone was putting two and two together and saying, when Grayscale comes around and says, yeah, convert us, or we're going to convert and you're going to allow us to convert, basically the SEC is going to say, okay, they're not going to deny it. That's basically what all the lawyers were saying. And that's exactly what's probably going to happen. Unless the SEC finds some other damning reason not to let Grayscale to convert, this sounds like it's a done deal. That's it. So do we just wait? Yeah, I guess so. Maybe this coming week, Grayscale announces when their trust will be converted into a spot Bitcoin ETF. So should we be cheering? I think so. I mean, a lot of analysts already predicted this, that either we're going to get a spot Bitcoin ETF by the end of this year, or we will get it by early next year. There's a 90% chance of approval, according to some analysts, by January. And that's with ARK's spot Bitcoin ETF. But if it's going to be this year, it has to be Grayscale. And if Grayscale does get theirs, then everyone else is going to get theirs too. So this looks like it's about to happen. Unless, again, SEC somehow pulls some new excuse out of their hat and says, yeah, you can't get it. You can't do it. This is going to be a done deal. I just don't know when. I don't know. The Grayscale thing is a little bit different than all the other applications, which is why I'm kind of like a little confused about like the deadline, if there needs to be a new application and stuff, because everyone else, including ARK, BlackRock, and so forth, they're not trying to convert. They're just coming out with a new spot Bitcoin ETF. And there's a lot of deadlines, and SEC has been pushing back on those deadlines until the main, like this last one, which for ARK is in January, but for everyone else is in March. Grayscale's is different because they're trying to convert, and they won the lawsuit, and now the appeal didn't come. So does that mean they could just announce that they're converting, or they have to resubmit? I'm not quite sure. The Grayscale thing is a little bit different. But again, if Grayscale gets their Bitcoin ETF, then that means we have the very first one in the US, which means SEC has really no ammunition to say no to all the other fund managers that are trying to come out with theirs, right? So basically, if we get it all. That's what it sounds like. Moving forward, that's why we have Bitcoin, right? That's why we have Bitcoin. So the RSI signals it is time to buy Bitcoin now. We are going sideways, right? Short term, like I've been saying, there may be some volatility. Short term, there's always some volatility. There's always some reason. Some whale decides to dump, it goes down, right? FTX decides to dump, it's going to go down, right? When there's worries about an implosion of USDC or USDT, it's going to come down. But long term, it's looking just fine. In fact, better than fine. So let me remove my camera here. This is what I want to show you guys. Just take a look on the very bottom, what's circled there. And, this is one of the most basic indicators out there for charts. RSI measures whether or not Bitcoin is oversold or overbought. Okay, right now, you could see same point as the previous times before Bitcoin started heading upwards. We are in oversold Yeah, we're oversold. It's really it, right? Bitcoin bull run to reignite if Bitcoin secures this price level. What price level is this person talking about? They have something called warm supply, and it is right at 28,233. I mean, we were right there. It's not like that's a big deal, but what's interesting about this is if you could look at, the red and the green, right? Right now, we're still in the red. To me, that just shows its accumulation stage. The red parts are when you accumulate. Green parts, obviously, is when Bitcoin goes back up and you could take some profit if you wanted to. Doesn't mean you have to. But right now, it is definitely still during accumulation stage. Again, we see a lot of fractal patterns, right? Right now, this is mimicking what happened from 2017 all the way down to 2020. Remember, I just got done talking about 2020, right? That horrific COVID crash that scared everyone out of the market, really. But what happened when things were looking so dire and people were calling for the death of Bitcoin? What happens? Bitcoin goes from 3,800 all the way to 69,000. That's what happened. Imagine if you're one of those people that got scared out, you couldn't handle it, there was so much FUD, and you were listening to others that were telling you Bitcoin was going to go to 1,000 or go to 0. Imagine if you were one of those people, you would have missed out on one of the most tremendous runs in Bitcoin's history. From 3,800 bottom to all the way to 69,000. And if it wasn't for SBF and FTX, if we didn't have that fall from 64,000 down to 28,000 and back up to 69,000, imagine what would have happened. Maybe we would have just shot up to 100,000 if we didn't have that nasty drop, which I would argue was done by SBF and FTX. It came out yesterday that Caroline was ordered to sell off Bitcoin to try to get it down to $20,000, right? Imagine if that didn't happen, we would have had a much higher high in 2021. We had a premature bust in 2021. But my point is this, again, when it's fearful, when it looks scary, and you just don't know if you can hold out, normally that's the capitulation stage and better days are coming. And I'm not even saying we're like that right now. For some, it may feel like that. But again, are we back down to 4,000? Are we back down to 3,800? No, we certainly are not. Long term, this is what I always say. When in doubt, zoom out. That's it. For every cycles, there's basically four points to look at. And basically we're heading into the third point, which should be, according to this, it'll be pretty high, around 48,000, which is an important Fibonacci level. And then afterwards, 150, 200, 250, don't know. But what I do know is FOMO this time around is going to be unlike anything we have ever seen before from any previous cycles. That I can assure you.